Tuesday, February 6th. Please stand for our invocation led by Pastor Meredith, Tree of Life Christian Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here today as we gather to do the business of the city of Mobile, Alabama. Father, we pray that you bless these who have been entrusted with the leadership of this city. We pray, Father, that they would have wisdom and insight to continue to push the direction of one Mobile, one that is on the forefronts of education and business. Father, we pray that you would just continue to bless with your mighty hand. Father, we pray especially for Mayor Stimpson that he would have leadership and wisdom during this time. And Father, we'll give you all the praise and all the glory that you rightly deserve. These things we pray, Father, in your Son's name, the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Vice President Manzi. Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Good morning. Our Vice President, Reverend Manzi, is in the hospital. He's doing fine, but he had an operation which precludes him from being here today. In his absence, I would like to move that the clerk serve as temporary chair for this meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk.
Statement of rules. At this time, we would ask that all attendees please turn off all of your electronic devices. Any person desiring to address the council must register outside, indicating the ordinance, resolution, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes to address the council. You'll hear a sound of a bell. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll have 1 minute remaining to summarize. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council member. All addresses should be made to the chair, me at this time. Any person desiring to speak on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office on the Thursday prior to the council meeting that you wish to address, prior to 2:00 p.m. on that Thursday. Approval of minutes of January 30th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Communications from the mayor.
Just one moment. Right. Okay. Is this the first one? Just going to let our guest just walk in just for a moment before I make my remarks. As they're coming in, I will touch on a couple of the shorter items, but I appreciate everyone being here. We have a lot of guests this morning. The first thing I would like to point out that yesterday was the birthday of not only a great baseball player, but also a Mobilian. Happy birthday yesterday to Hank Aaron. So let's give Mr. Aaron a big round of applause and wishing him a happy birthday. Another great occurrence for one of our sports legends was that Robert Brazile was elected into the NFL Hall of Fame. A tremendous accomplishment from by anybody. I think, and I would stand corrected, but he may be the first Mobilian to be elected into the NFL Hall of Fame. If he's not, I'm sure someone will let me know very shortly. But congratulations, Robert. We certainly appreciate the reflection that you have upon the city of Mobile. As some of you may or may not know, but I'll tell you that Mayor Landrieu for New Orleans and I, we have been at odds over Mardi Gras of this past season. And actually, it started a couple of years ago. And I think all of us in this room, we can all agree, and all the citizens of Mobile, we all agree that Mobile isn't only the original Mardi Gras and the birthplace of Mardi Gras, it's the best Mardi Gras. Now, I want to say part of the reason for that is thanks to our city employees, those who make sure that it's a safe celebration. They also make sure that it's a clean celebration and a family-friendly celebration. So tremendous gratitude goes to those of our city employees and others who are engaged in making it a wonderful occasion. This season so far, we've picked up 89 tons of debris. That's a lot of stuff. This is the time, if you incline to litter, do it in the Mardi Gras route and not somewhere else, because we will pick it up. But in closing about Mardi Gras and to Mayor Landrieu, I hope that he and I have an opportunity to sit down at either a lunch or a dinner and maybe continue the conversation about whose Mardi Gras is best. And so we will stay tuned to continue with that. But anyway, I think that we're both as cities very fortunate to have a celebration which really is the biggest party that goes on in the United States because of the number of days that it covers. So, moving right on, tomorrow we're having a webinar for businesses to learn how to hire youth this summer as part of our YES initiative. Companies can register online at yes251.org. That's yes251.org. For those companies that are interested, the city will administer payroll and liability services for the youth to work up to 120 hours at minimum wage from June 4th through June 28th. We will also provide job skills training. So often, individuals and leaders in companies ask me what can they do to help the city. And my request today, my plea is let's all get behind the YES initiative. Let's everybody reach out and find a place in your organization to give one of our young people an opportunity to work this summer. So having touched on all those points, I have another one that I would like to read, and this is a proclamation. And so I would ask the representatives of MAMGA, whomever may be receiving the proclamation, if they could approach the podium and stand at the podium. So who would that be, CJ, that's going to come down? Everidge? You coming to the, probably quicker to go out the other way.
I guess so.
Okay, so the proclamation reads, whereas the Mobile Area Mardi Gras Association, MAMGA, is a nonprofit organization incorporated in 1938 under the trusteeship of W.L. Russell, J.T. McInnes, Sam Bastida, Jr., and J.A. Franklin, and whereas the mission of MAMGA is to promote knowledge, arts, science, and to cultivate interest in the celebration of carnival activities at Mardi Gras, and to encourage members to participate in all events that will enhance our civic and national betterment. And whereas MAMGA held its first parade in 1939 and presented its first royal court in 1940, the late Alex Herman was king, and Eileen Jenkins Howard was the first queen, who currently lives in Mobile. And whereas MAMGA proudly celebrates 80 years as an active organization of African American men that live the mission of the organization and continue the tradition of service, education, and revelry. Now therefore I, William S. Stimson, the 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, do hereby recognize the 80th anniversary of the Mobile Area Mardi Gras Association. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the mayor for this proclamation. I thank you all for presenting this to us. We're looking for a fun-filled year, and like the mayor said earlier, Mobile is the best and only Mardi Gras. Happy Mardi Gras. Thank you.
Same to you.
That's it.
Oh,
Okay.
Mr. Small, Councilman Small.
I'm gonna ask that Mr. Everett and come on back down. Yeah.
While that's being arranged, I just want to let everybody know that's watching and all those in attendance that our Vice President is participating in this meeting through technology, and he sends his regards.
Thank you.
And Mr. Everett, on behalf of the Mobile City Council, LaVon C. Manzi, Vice President, and myself, C.J. Small, and the rest of the council members, we also do congratulate you on the 80th, congratulate us on the 80th anniversary of the organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Turn.
And again, I'd like to say thank you all very much.
I'm gonna ask all the members to stand.
These are some of our members.
Ms. Gregory.
Well, good morning again.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to introduce you to this group of young men who are sitting behind me. They are the Clark Shaw Eagles basketball team.
All right.
And they are the winning middle school team for the 2017-2018 Mobile County Middle School Basketball Championships. They had a perfect season. I know. 13-0, perfect season. Coach, if you would come down with me, Coach Binkley. Deidre, have you got them? Oh, okay. We've got one of these for everybody, so I'm just going to read this one. Congratulations to the Clark Shaw Eagles for outstanding sportsmanship displayed in the team winning the 2017-2018 3A Mobile County Middle School Basketball Championship with a 47-38 win over Burns Middle School. This was on Monday, January 22nd of this year. The team finished the season again with an overall 13-0 record. How many times does that happen? Like ever? We also want to commend the coaching staff, coaches Curtis May, Adam Binkley, and Edwin Winfield, and then the managers are Jamar Dozier and Chris Hill. Done this day in the city of Mobile, Alabama, February 6th, 2018. And if I could get the coaches to stand, and if you would introduce the coaches for me, coaches?
I have Coach Curtis May. He helped me also with football assistant coach and basketball, and our athletic director, Coach Alan Winfield.
All right. Thank you for coming. And now what I'm going to ask is if all the young men will stand so we can recognize you.
All done.
Now, what grades are you? They're all 7th and 8th graders. How many 7th graders do we have? Wow, most everybody's in the 8th grade. Okay, Coach, you got your work cut out for you next year. Now, I'd also like to get a picture, so if I can get everybody to come around behind the council, just stand behind the council members and we'll get a photo. Marion is heading that behind me. Okay. And I've got all your certificates. Okay.
Madam City Clerk, as the basketball team come, I want to recognize Councilmember Lorenzo Martin of the Pritchard City Council, the president meeting today.
Okay. These babies.
Congratulations, guys.
Good job.
You guys might want to go up on the second one back. Perfect, that's a good.
Gina, you want to stand in the middle of the first row? See, geographically, that's why you're hearing from Miss Gregory.
Okay, everybody set? Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, keep up the good work. Great. We'll see the seventh graders back next year.
Exactly. Yeah, they're gonna go ahead and, guys, y'all are gonna get to go back to school.
Before we start back with the agenda.
I know.
Cute.
Thank you.
Nice.
I'm going to take a little executive privilege and acknowledge my spouse, Clifton Lambert.
I thought I saw.
Hey, Cliff.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to recognize a couple of heroes here today. And this is pertaining to the Publix project for Midtown, where they have already lost 105 days to rain, and then they were faced with a stop work order that was going to severely hamper what they were trying to do. And Council Chamber, Wanda Cochran, issued her opinion regarding this, and I appreciate Mayor Stimpson, who rose to the occasion and brought an end to the stop work order to allow this company to proceed on to finish what they're doing and possibly open up next month. This is big. This is big to the citizens in the Midtown area, and especially all communities east of I-65. We don't have any store of this magnitude. This is it. So took a lot to get all this done, but it's done. Everybody's working. The store's going to open, and everybody is satisfied. I just want to congratulate Mayor Stimpson and Wanda Cochran for getting involved in this to resolve it so we can all move forward.
Adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
Agenda is adopted. Appeals. We have the appeal of the Mobile City Planning Commission's approval of a planned unit development to allow a new off-site parking lot to accommodate an existing medical clinic at 2001 Spring Hill Avenue and 137, 139, and 149 Tuscaloosa Street.
Motion to over another week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Appeals. We have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance, February 11th on Elmira Street, February 10th on Demouy Avenue, and March 3rd, Glen Acres Drive East.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Marty O'Malley.
Good morning.
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 I don't know who to address, but thank you for letting me have a few minutes.
Name and address, Marty.
Marty O'Malley with the L'Arche Mobile Community, 151 South Ann Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36604. I'm representing L'Arche Mobile, as well as the 17th annual Service First Bank First Light Marathon presented by Mobile Sports Authority. So I'd have a little canvas to thank Mayor Stimpson on behalf of the City of Mobile. Not that one. This one, thank you. This year we had around 2,000 people participate, over 800 volunteers. This year was also the same weekend as the Martin Luther King Jr. events, which we coordinated all the events with various groups throughout the city. And during the marathon, we had what we called our Unity Walk. We had over 30 churches and or groups participate in doing 1 mile of the marathon, and it represented about 1,200 people throughout the city, which was really a citywide event that our whole theme was the unity and diversity. In the planning of this with those groups, People United for a Dream, Port City Chapter of Blacks in Government, as well as Mobile United, they want us to continue this. So next week, the Marathon Committee will meet and we'll decide on are we going to continue this Unity Walk as part of the marathon. The other thing for this Unity Walk, at the 26-mile mark, we had over 600 people walk down Dolphin Street, and we were accompanied by Mobile Park Rec Youth Band, which was about 60 members, and the band loved it. And the last participant, who was actually doing the full marathon, crossed, and it was like parting the Red Sea. So this lady took over 7 hours, and she was accompanied across the finish line by a 60-person band, as well as 500 people cheering for her. She wrote me afterward and said she's never experienced something like that in her life. So we also like to commend John Williams for doing the last 6 miles, actually 6.2 miles, of our balloon person or people, and they paced the racers. So John finished that with his son, so we'd like to have a little thank you and commemorative shirt for John. So our date is all set, so it'll be the second Sunday of January, January 13th, 2019, which will be our 18th year. Thank you. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Marty. Great.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I'd like to add a couple of comments. First of all, it's always been my pleasure to be associated with the marathon and what it does for the residents of Mobile and a greater population that I'm a big fan of. I offer the same challenge I did last year, and that any member of the administration or council that would like to participate in the balloon relay to either walk with me or walk before me, that'd be fine. But I'll be there for the last 6.2 miles. It's always been my pleasure, and it was a real pleasure this year to have my son, who's a senior at McGill. And the emotion's not about my son at McGill, but rather a very special kid that is a senior at McGill, an 18-year-old kid that has never faced a challenge that he did not take on and embrace completely. Y'all may have read about him, may have heard about him on TV. His name is Donovan, 18-year-old senior at McGill-Tulane. He's a member of the choir. He is a manager for both football and basketball. And when the seniors showed up on the court here about a week ago, Donovan scored the first points of the game. A real highlight for him in his high school career, and I know for your family. Donovan O'Malley, the youngest of Marty's, is going to be missed at McGill, and his spirit, I'm sure, will be around, as well as his presence, for many years to come. So congratulations to your family, and thank you for all you do for Mobile.
I'll let him know, and he'll be very embarrassed, but that's okay. Just so participation next year, when we do the Unity Walk, maybe each council member could recruit people and do 1 mile. And all you have to do is walk 1 mile in 16 minutes. So anyway, next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jan McKay.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, Mayor. Thank you for letting me have a few minutes today. First, I want to thank each and every one of you for your ongoing support and advocacy of the Explorium. We had a great 2017, and we had a... What's that?
Name and address.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jan McKay, the Gulf Coast Explorium Science Center, 65 Government Street, Mobile, Alabama. Okay. Anyway, we had a great year, and I wanted to give you a little bit of highlights of the last year. First of all, I want to remind you that we're one of just 495 professional science centers that are a member of the Association of Science and Technology Centers worldwide. Also membership in the Downtown Mobile Alliance, the Mobile Chamber, American Alliance of Museums, and Visit Mobile. We're a major partner in sparking children to learn and a major partner with area schools, private, public, and homeschoolers. We're also a major collaboration in the Mobile tourism industry, and we contribute a little bit to our tax dollars. In the last 4 years, the Explorium has presented 13 different changing exhibitions that the expenses ranged on bringing those 13 in to well over $1 million. We didn't do that on our own. We did that with the help of many private and public entities. But I wanted to just review those a little bit. You might have been to the Da Vinci Machines exhibit from Florence, Italy, the chocolate exhibition from the Field Museum of Chicago. We had an exhibit on Jerusalem. We had live penguins. We had a NASA exhibit. We had a rock and roll exhibit, a guitar exhibit about physics and the science of sound, the Great Dinosaur Egg Hunt, and also Curious George, Let's Get Curious. And thank you all for supporting that exhibit and for coming out and reading. This past week we had 4 animatronic creatures arrive through our port from China. They were in customs for about 3 days, and finally they got delivered last Friday. They are creatures that look like creatures from the Permian period, because we're getting ready to open a new exhibit on Saturday to our members, and then on the 14th to the whole community. It's called Life Before the Dinosaurs, Permian Monsters. This is the first time this exhibit is going to be anywhere on the Gulf Coast, and the first time these creatures are going to be assembled in the way they're assembling anywhere in the world. So we're really excited about this exhibit. There'll be lots of education going on paleontology, geography, history, and so forth. And of course, we're already way above school bookings compared to last year. Our hard work is paying off. In the spring of 2017 alone, we welcomed 12,595 school children on school field trips. That was a 15% increase, and that was due in part, I believe, to the drug exhibition that we brought in and collaborated with so many of you and with our mayor, Mr. Simpson, to make that available for 6 months for schools in the area. So total attendance last fiscal year for schools is 24,975 children, and total attendance for everybody attending was 140,000 people. Last year, we also started a new Science to Go project funded by Alabama Power, the Daniel Foundation, and Wells Fargo. It's essentially a van that has been decorated, but what comes out of that van is more important than the van. It's science, technology, engineering, and math that we take to schools and libraries. And there's so much more. We have an annual report. It's not all fancy and graphically designed, but I'm going to make sure each one of you get it. We do invite you to come to see the Permian Monsters exhibit and also a film in the IMAX theater. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
Ira Bettis.
Good morning, Mayor Stimson, Council. My name is Ira Bettis. I own the property at 665 Donna Street.
Your address, please, Mr. Bettis.
My address is 600 Texas Street, Mobile, Alabama.
Thank you.
Sure. I received a letter from the Mobile Enforcement Department to demolish my building because it had the roof was off. And the reason the roof was off is that the contractor and I, we had an agreement that if I demo the roof, he will put it back at this price. So once that took place, got the city to permit and everything, blueprints were done, got back with him. The price had increased tremendously, so I couldn't get it done. Since then, I've been working with Gordon Bauer with the Community Reinvestment Program. And I have some of the paperwork already finished and some of the bids to present to him, but it can't go forward until I get the bid on the trusses that's supposed to be made. So I'm here to ask if I could have an extension on this project.
Mr. Meadows, we're going to, I want to direct you to David Dockenbauer at the top of the stairs, and he will take all the information and he'll get with you to tell you where you should go from here.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Barrow.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Retired Robert F. Barrow, 2 Cora Slocum Drive, Spanish Fort, Alabama, 36527.
Thank you.
Now we've got that out of the way. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I want to thank specifically John Williams and Reverend Manzi. I call him Reverend Manzi because I've known him a long time, for asking me to come and talk to you today about something that is happening in the Mobile County Public School System that you should be very proud of. And then I'm going to stick my hand out and ask for money to support this endeavor. About 5 years ago, I asked Mayor to be the chairman of an honorary chairman of our advisory team to introduce to Mobile County a JROTC STEM Leadership Academy, Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics. Ms. Peak had charged me, after presenting this to her, with making this happen. And all she said was, go forth and conquer. And that was all the guidance I got. And 2 years later, though, we were able to successfully execute our first STEM Academy for the high school students of Mobile County that are enrolled in JROTC, and that's all 12 schools in our district. We based the way we execute this on something that I observed taking place on the campus of Mississippi State University and sponsored by my counterpart, Colonel Jackson. He's there, or excuse me, Paul Willis from Jackson, Mississippi. We came back to Mobile, and we were very blessed that our business and industry partners and other persons in the field of education saw the vision that I had, that we could have a profound impact on the students and young people of Mobile County if we can introduce them and expose them to what career opportunities are here in our city and in our region. We've executed that now for 3 years in a row. I spend most of my time asking for business partners, government officials, other folks in the United States Army, and other interested colleagues and foundations to support us in this endeavor, and we've been successful so far. To do this for 160 students is about a $140,000 adventure. We're partnered with Spring Hill College, and as you know, with their Jesuit mission, they saw the vision that we have and give us the access to their campus at a very cut rate. We introduce the students. It's a very rigorous, I've sent to each of you, I think you've received it by mail, an agenda of what we do with these young people over the course of 6 days, 5 nights and 6 days. It's very rigorous. They have to conduct and perform very difficult and challenging STEM projects. And I'm always very proud and elated when I see that when they have the vision, the light comes on, that they can do the things that they're expected to do, and then they recognize, more importantly, I have the ability and the potential to be one of the best workers at Austell or BAE or Acker Solution or Alabama Power or Evonik and all of these different industries that have supported us over the year. VTME, I can go on and on with Airbus. I know the mayor's big on Airbus, as we all should be. What our students lack the most, and I'm very proud of the Mobile County Public School System, and you should be too, despite what the report cards say frequently. Our children can compete with anybody in these United States, but they have to be given the opportunity to see what opportunities exist for them if they apply themselves in high school. And in particular, our disadvantaged students that live in our city and communities, they're the ones that need it the most. This program has been very effective at exposing them to that. I ask today that you consider making a contribution to this effort out of your discretionary funds from each of your each district. I have been very successful and received tremendous support from your counterparts in the county commissioners. Each county commissioner has contributed consecutively over the last 3 years. It's the first time I thought about asking here, and I did that when we met Mr. Richardson on Veterans Day, even Reverend Manzi together. We were together and we talked about that. So again, it's a privilege to work in the Mobile County school system. I've got a great superintendent and some great colleagues in CTE. But you should be proud of what our district does, and I hope that I hear from you with your support. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Quinn Hillier regarding ordinance 34003.
Quinn Hillier, 141 Battery Lane, 36608, and not part of my remarks, but just as originally a native of New Orleans and also as a journalist who cares about facts, let it be said for the record that the first organized Mardi Gras was indeed here in Mobile. So you're absolutely right, Mr. Mayor.
We're on record.
Yes. I am Quinn Hillier, an active member of the Citizens Commission appointed by this very council to examine the city's tax and revenue structure. Before I begin, please let me enter for the record comments also offered by Jim Mather, president of the wonderful community organization Friends of Internationals. He would be here in person today, except that he's upstairs in this very building serving jury duty. So if I can maybe give that to you, because he wanted that submitted for the record. Jim agrees with me that the so-called extra penny of sales tax is a long-term detriment to the city's health. I fully understand, however, that you are poised today to renew and extend this extra tax, and I also understand and sympathize with your fear that if you do not extend this penny tax, somehow the alternative sources of revenue identified by the Citizens Commission may not materialize, and therefore the funding for the popular and necessary capital improvement program will be lost. Here's what I propose. Use today's extension not as the end of the issue, but as the beginning. Now that the penny and its revenue will be there, you will be able to propose alternate ways of producing the funding, secure in the knowledge that if the legislature or eventually the voters of Mobile do not approve the alternate plan as a trade-off for the penny, then no harm will be done because the penny will remain. I do urge you, therefore, to produce a plan within a year based on the general principles of the Citizens Commission, even if not agreeing with every detail of it, to present to the voters of Mobile as an alternative. Let the citizens decide not about whether to finance the capital improvements, but how. This is important. Just this week, word comes that yet another homegrown box store business, a major sales tax producer, Claude Moore Jewelers, is closing after 96 years here in Mobile. I spoke to Claude Moore IV last night. He said a number of considerations factored into the decision to close, but that clearly among them is the continuing pressure from internet sales, and also that the added incremental pressure of the city's high sales tax makes it even more of a struggle to compete. This is emblematic of the problems the city faces if it continues trying to rely on the sales tax. A downward spiral of businesses unable to bear the higher taxes and thus closing down and thus producing no taxes at all. For the record, let me remind you and inform the public, if it has not heard, what the major factual findings of the Citizens Commission were. Again, these are not just somebody's opinions, but actual factual findings based on copious research. First, Mobile's tax structure is grossly imbalanced in comparison with neighbors and with national norms. Second, it is absolutely undisputed that sales taxes are among the most regressive taxes in common use, falling most heavily on the working poor. Third, sales tax revenues are more volatile than property taxes, and while we cannot yet state it is an absolute fact, it is widely assumed that internet sales are replacing box store sales to such an extent that sales taxes are not likely to produce revenue growth commensurate with the city's economic growth. Fourth, broad-based sales taxes are more deterrent to growth than property taxes and other common taxes. Fifth, sales taxes are a lot harder to use to claim federal tax deductions than are property taxes or others. A move to other forms of taxation effectively keeps local money here rather than sending it to Washington. I'll conclude by saying for these reasons, among numerous others, the high sales tax is a bad investment long-term for Mobile's economic health. Our 10-cent sales tax competes very weakly with Pensacola's 7.5%, Pascagoula's 7 cents, and a national average of 6.79%. We can and should do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would just like to make a comment.
Mr. Richardson?
I was just over Pensacola last week. I paid $2.57 for a gallon of gas. I paid $2.25 in Mobile. They may not get you on sales tax, but the gun is ready. You're going to get hit if you go over there.
George Brew, regarding the appeal on Tuscaloosa Street.
Oh, but it's not here.
We have George here?
I think you have.
Okay.
Ordinance is held over. 34003. Further amend ordinance 34039 adopted September 16, 2014 and amended on November 18, 2014 to extend the sunset provision until September 30th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. Daves.
I appreciate Mr. Hillier today being with us and the work that the commission, the committee that he's on, has done. And you point out very ably some significant problems with our reliance on the sales tax. I personally support us taking this period of time that we're going to have when we renew this tax in an effort to really try to find alternative sources of revenue to replace some or all of that extra penny in the sales tax. It's going to take a lot of work. Each one of the possible alternatives that the committee proposed has its own little warts attached to it that are going to be difficult to overcome. But I'm perfectly supportive of us moving forward in that. I think your committee is going to have to keep our feet to the fire and make sure that we actually do something with it. Having said all that, I think that that renewing the penny for 5 years is the appropriate action for us to take today. One of the arguments that was made earlier, and when I say earlier, I mean prior, when we renewed it 3 years ago, was that the city was, I think most people that objected to it at that time felt, and leaving aside the arguments you bring up, felt that it was just money that was going into a big black hole in the general fund, and that the renewal was just going to continue to do that. In the meantime, the administration and the department heads within the administration and council helped have made significant reductions in general fund expenditures. 2 years ago, we were, I think in the first 2 years, Mr. West can correct me, but I believe in the first 2 fiscal years, the general fund was reduced by some $17 million. That's come back up now as we have provided, especially as we have provided long-needed raises for our first responders and for other city employees. But the money, the bulk of the money that extra penny raises now is not being spent in the general fund as it was in the past. This is being spent on capital and economic development items. So I think we need to renew the penny. I think we need to renew it for 5 years. But I think I'm fully supportive of your suggestion that we use this 5 years in a true effort to see if we can find alternative sources of revenue. Thank you.
Ms. Rich, and then Ms. Gregory. Ms. Rich, then Ms. Gregory, and then Mr. Williams.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Hey, thank you. I wasn't sure. Thank you very much. I wish to thank Mr. Don Bigler, Mr. Quinn Hilliard, who just spoke, Mr. Lee Wallace, Mr. Mike Johnson, Mr. Page Stolkup, Mr. Franklin McMillan, Mr. Bradford Ladd, and Mr. David Preston for volunteering their time and obvious financial expertise and talents as members of the Ad Hoc Committee for City Revenue and Growth Analysis. I served as chair of this committee, and Councilman Manzi served as vice chair. They worked for over 6 months on this project. These individuals were selected by the mayor and each council member. They represented a cross-section of our community. These members, selected by the mayor and council members, came up with the same unanimous conclusions and recommendations for alternates to the penny tax. They all agreed that Mobile's tax structure is grossly imbalanced. It's one of the highest in the nation. They all agreed that sales taxes are regressive. They all agreed that sales taxes are not stable or sustainable. They all agreed that sales taxes can be a detriment to economic growth, especially a high sales tax. They all agreed that the city should eliminate half a penny and charge fees for a garbage service. They all agreed to eliminate another half penny and replace it with a stable 10 mil property tax increase. And yet the leaders who selected this wonderful group of volunteers aren't listening. Despite stagnant city tax growth, despite the obvious closing of retail businesses throughout our city, and despite the explosion of internet sales, which we can barely tax, our city leaders want to extend this flawed penny tax. It just doesn't make sense to me. The rationale that I've heard about extending this penny tax is that they want the money for capital improvements for their districts. And I want this too, but by utilizing a stable revenue source. I predict that when sales taxes fail, the leaders of this city will be forced to divert these capital funds in order to operate for city services. This happened before during an economic slowdown, and the continued spending, which we must do to get our services to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It seems to be happening now since the present sales tax projections are not performing. The ad hoc committee members see the potential downturn happening. Unfortunately, we are not facing this known reality, although I am encouraged by my council member in his comments about looking seriously at other revenue streams. I'm highly encouraged by that. I would prefer a stable income source to support our capital needs and operational needs. I prefer a stable income source that doesn't penalize our businesses because they're not competitive at 10% tax rate. I prefer a stable income because it can be less punitive to the economically disadvantaged in our city when they're faced paying the 10% every time they go to the grocery store or have to buy school supplies for their children. I plan to vote no. I hope that the mayor agrees heartily with my statements. I know last time he vetoed the council's action. With 6 supporters, the veto is probably not going to go very far, but the administration stepping up in helping this city to face what is really a known economic issue that must be addressed, and I look forward to working with the administration to pull together this community to step up and resolve for once how we fund our system. Thank you.
Ms. Gregory.
Oh, one other thing. This was to be read for the record, and I have it written. I will make sure the clerk's office gets it. Thank you.
Once again, we ask that all electronic devices be silenced. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lambert. I appreciate Mr. Quinn Hillier coming and speaking with us today, and I certainly appreciate the work that he, along with others, did on this committee. Mike Johnson is my appointee, and Mike and I have been meeting fairly regularly for the last few years since this committee has been formed. And as you all may remember, as president, I assigned this committee to do the work and named Mrs. Rich as the chair, and I was happy to do so because, like her and like so many others, I see that there is a need to do something about our tax structure. We all know it. In fact, at our last Finance Committee meeting, we all spoke about this and we all agreed that we have to do something. So I think we've made quite a bit of progress, Quinn, since the last time you all spoke to us, and there was absolutely, I mean, almost crickets when you started asking if anybody was in support of it. I mean, Bess has been in support of it from day one, and I have supported the idea to go forward and do research and let's try to make this happen. But now you hear that other council members are beginning to favor the idea of at least doing the research and doing the work to get somewhere because we see the writing on the wall. So far, this extra penny, as it's become known, the extra penny, has meant $9 million in my district, as other districts. $63 million for the 7 districts overall, but about $90 million is what, $63 million for my district as the other districts, but $90 million total is what we've looked at. We're already planning now for 2019, and having the penny in place for the next 5 years, 3 years, whatever we do, helps us plan ahead. We have to have the funding there in order to plan ahead to know what we're doing. So that's very important. But we're also finally getting a handle on the backlog that has existed and has plagued this city for too many years. When we started this in 2016, the backlog was estimated at $250 million, and that was low. We're now doing some facilities assessments, and we estimate again that the final total will be well over $500 million. So we know that we have to have funding in place to meet these needs. Just in my district alone, we have put in more than $180,000 for street resurfacing. This coming year, in 2019, as we're planning for now, I'll have another $600,000. We do drainage repairs, parks improvements, sidewalk repairs, street striping, guardrails, you name it, we're making these improvements, but it's all thanks to that extra income that's coming in. But nobody likes to raise taxes. I don't like to raise taxes. I don't think anybody on this council likes to raise taxes. But using the 1 cent for the project citywide with a very visible success record with this capital improvement program gives our residents the confidence to know that the money is being spent wisely. Like Councilman Daves mentioned, it's not going down some deep, dark hole. It's not funding raises. It's not funding operations. You can see where the money is being spent. We also know that these capital needs, as they are split now, go also toward public safety and for economic development, along with, of course, the split for our districts. But getting back to what's happening with sales taxes, we are all very aware about the online sales taxes and what they are doing locally to our brick and mortar stores. We keep losing sales taxes thanks to online sales. We also know about a bill before the Alabama legislature now that would also impact our ability to collect sales taxes. It's giving an advantage to online retailers rather than our brick and mortar stores. And also, a current bill provides a formula giving the state and counties the lion's share of what online sales taxes is being collected. So we still find ourselves with a huge challenge on our hands. We're holding our own for now, as Mr. Wesh has said, but the question, of course, is how much longer can we hold our own? How much longer can we continue a capital improvement program based solely on these sales taxes? Tuscaloosa, as we heard, has already had to cut each area of their budget by 5%. We don't want that to happen to the city of Mobile. So going forward, as we've already heard discussed here today, we need to look at other options. This ad hoc committee has come forward with a list of options that we should look at, from raising some fees and lowering the sales tax. One of the things that they would like to see us raise is the property tax. I know that sends shivers down people's spines in some areas, but it's a reality that we must look at. You are raising fees, raising taxes on one side, and lowering the sales tax on the other so that we can continue doing what we need to do and what people want to see in this city, which is to continue working on the infrastructure projects. Now, the council can't raise property taxes. We can raise fees, we can raise the garbage tax, you know, those sorts of things, and we can certainly lower the sales tax any day. Anytime it hits our agenda, we can lower that sales tax, but we cannot raise property taxes, and that's the issue. We have to go to the legislature to ask them to allow us to even have a referendum, and then the city must be educated as to what we're trying to do. So it is a process, but it is a process that I believe this council is open to, that we will begin looking at, and that I will support. And I also challenge our ad hoc committee to reactivate itself. We've talked about that when Mike was with us at the Finance Committee. To reactivate, give us an update, let's move forward and get some community support. It doesn't need to be this council and the mayor coming forward and saying, we want to do this. It's got to be a community effort, because the community needs to understand where we are and what this future lies for us if we don't find other options. So with that, I think I've said quite enough, but I am encouraged to know that my council colleagues are on board with looking at other options. In the meantime, we must continue the penny as it is now so that we can continue doing the work that we have, knowing that we are looking for something else so that we can stop the regressive sales tax as it is now, but continue the infrastructure improvements that we are making that everybody expects and deserves.
Madam Clerk,
Mr. Williams.
I recognize all that has been said, and I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the merit of some alternatives. But this council has no staff, certainly does not have the resources to go to the legislature and make this happen. We have called on the legislature to look at it, and if those that are opponents to the 1 cent sales tax, which has been half the amount of time talking to our colleagues at the State House instead of throwing their own colleagues under the bus, this may have already moved forward. The fact is that the last time we voted, I did so, and I had precursored my comment by saying this may be a shock to everyone. But I was committed to make sure that we did what we said we were going to do, and the citizens of Mobile know that we did what we said we were going to do. We're not just spending more. We're reducing our debt, and we're not running business away, ladies and gentlemen. The fact is that businesses are coming to us. Amazon came to us without any economic incentive. They did not see our place in Mobile as a bad place to do business. In fact, I think they saw exactly the opposite, and an argument otherwise is ridiculous. We are rebuilding our infrastructure. We are incentivizing investment in our community. We are providing our citizens with an accountable program, one that, without question, is the most transparent probably in the country, but certainly in the history of our city. I just find it interesting that the opposition on this council, in one of our previous speakers, was the first to send out a letter and spend the money. Did not turn it back in or make a reserve and use it as something that might be different than what is being proposed. But hasn't taken a single step other than political rhetoric to move the apparent cause forward. I am committed to this effort to rebuild our city. I applaud this administration. Maybe they did veto, but if they could have seen the future, they wouldn't have. They haven't just simply rested on the extra 1 cent to make things happen. They have paid down debt. They have done the right thing by reducing staffing. They have found every single efficiency, and without so, this program would not be successful. Ms. Irby and her staff, all of the administration, have been in contact with this council as we asked, and have provided us with an incredible, excellent path to success. Anybody arguing that it hasn't been successful is wrong. Anybody that's simply saying that all we have to do is just say and it will be so. But an alternative is not in our hands. To simply lower sales tax and increase fees such as garbage and stormwater is a backdoor tax that simply isn't fair. We must allow the opposition to go to the State House and bring back a real alternative. Otherwise, let's quit talking about it. There's nothing that we can do until the state acts. Nobody, I'm telling you, nobody has come to me and said, will you please raise my property tax instead of the 1 cent, other than a couple people in this room. And I respect their opinion and their ability, you know, to do what they do and just speak their minds. But I will not stand and let anybody believe that there's an easy fix out there or that this system hasn't been accountable and successful. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Small.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Approximately 4 years ago, I was sitting down thinking about that the tax was about to get ready to expire sunset. And I was saying to myself that, you know, I have many streets in my district that need to be revitalized and, you know, think about Ann Street and Baltimore Street. So I went to Councilman Williams and I asked him about the idea of renewing it, but let the citizens see their money. Before I took council, the 1 cent sales tax was in effect at 10%. But many citizens did not see their money, even though we know that the money, the extra 1 cent, was to keep the city afloat. But the citizens themselves did not see the money. With all the great things that's going on in Mobile in the year 2013, Airbus and et cetera, you know, the penny was about to get ready to sunset. I remember asking my colleague, you know, hey, let's let the citizens see their money at work. You know, I have some streets that in my district, I have some parts in my district I haven't been touched in years. So, with Councilman Richardson and myself sponsoring this ordinance, we was able to extend this penny and have the CIP program. Now, I will be honest, and I do agree with my colleague that this penny is not stable, and I do have some concerns. But the thing about it is that Mobile really relies on the penny, the sales tax, as to live on. Yes, we do have our neighboring state like Florida. They rely on tourism. Gulf Shores relies on tourism. Orange Beach relies on tourism, hospitality. But here in Mobile, we rely on sales tax to keep us afloat. When you look at the state of Florida, you have the lottery also. You have money from Alabama going to Florida. You look at Mississippi, money leaving out of Alabama going to Mississippi because of the casinos. Money going towards Tennessee, out of Alabama, you know, going towards the lotteries, just as well as the state of Georgia. Money leaving Alabama going to Georgia. But the thing about it is that we need to really talk to our state legislators to help us out with this issue, not only with the possibility of having casinos and lottery for extra money, but even for as an online sales tax. And as my colleagues had talked about earlier, the increase on online internet sales, there is a very concern. And even with the safety inside of our shopping malls, you know, we don't even, you know, step up and invest into our public safety. Who's going to the malls, with all the, dangers that's going on in the malls this day and time. I have citizens that I represent, they are fearful in going to the mall. Right now they're fearful in going to the grocery store. But because of the CIP, we are able to, because of this penny, we are able to invest into our public safety for we can have safety in our malls and shopping malls. But we have citizens that are fearful in going out. Of course, the penny is going to decrease. Now, we do have an option in going back in the future, 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, or 5 years to review this ordinance again. And to go back and see, do we need to reduce this back down to 9%? And we do have that option. As I had charged the administration a couple weeks ago during the committee meeting, I'm charging them again today to go and look at other alternatives, dealing with this extra penny. All the other alternatives as far as in property taxes, or business license, increase the business license. There are other options out there, but again, we need the administration to lead this effort. With this extra penny, District 3, ride down Ann Street. 4 years ago, you could not ride down Ann Street. You were gonna bump it, bump, bump, bump. Today, because of this penny, you were able to ride down smooth. I have a park in my district, Wash Park. When I first took council, the kids was in the park flipping tires because there was no playground equipment. Today, if you go to Wash Park, they just about completed that park because of the extra 1 cent sales tax. There are much more things that need to be done in District 3, especially Baltimore Street. Baltimore Street is a street that is, self-natural, that has self-natural speed bumps. You can't speed down there. If you do, you're going to tear up your axle and your tires. But the thing about it is that when we have streets like Baltimore Street with the holes and bring about blight in the community, you're going to have crimes. We have to invest into our community, and what we're doing today is invest into our community. We invested in our community 4 years ago. We need to invest in our community now, but we can have smooth selling streets, not only just in District 3, but throughout the city of Mobile. And again, this penny is one of the good things. I ain't gonna say the best thing, but one of the good things that we have had within the past couple of years was, again, the citizens of Mobile, especially the citizens in District 3, can see that penny at work. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilman
Yes.
Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I listened to the report from the tax committee, and I think they have merit too. I think the fault that I can see is they brought the report back to us who were powerless to make it happen. We can't vote on property tax. So it seemed like to me they sat down and took a negative view of us because there was really nothing we could do. I think we need to get back up, go deal with the local legislative delegation. I think they can. That's who we don't have the power, but the legislators. I haven't read where anybody confronted the state legislators, especially the Mobile legislative delegation, to see what their point is about this. Because if they say no, there's no need of you going down that road any further. You're not going to get anywhere. So you've told us we can't do anything, so woe is me. That's not how I feel about that. I'll say one thing. You're going to be hard pressed to get a state tax, for this city to get another state tax out of the state. The federal government has the state of Alabama on a federal mandate for providing relief to the prisoners we have. There's too many people in the prison for the space we have, and the federal government was tired of begging them to do something. They put them on the mandate that if you don't do something about it, by this time the money that we got coming to the state of Alabama, we're going to keep it. So they still they could invoke a tax to take care of that. They're not doing that. If they won't pass a tax to pay their own bills, I don't believe they're gonna pay the tax so we can pay ours. They can't pay their own bills up there. They had gaming before them, turned it down. That God don't like gambling, so they turned that down. Every avenue now they tax liquor and cigarettes. So they've taxed cigarettes, it's about $7 a pack. So they can't tax that no more. They've gone to the limit with that. So I don't think it's gonna be that easy to go up and say, we just want y'all to raise the property tax for us. So if they did that, I guarantee they're gonna have their hand over there to rake most of it over on their side. Look what happened. Look what has happened to the internet tax. Yeah, they're telling these big box people they're going along with them because they want to collect all of the tax and the city not get any of it. So the city, I'm not going to let you purchase on the internet, but they're going to have to pay the state the taxes. And here we are having to fight the state to make sure we get our share because the state want all the taxes they can get. They don't want us to have any. It's not going to be an easy fix, but if we want to fix it, we need to get started. The best place to start it is with the Mobile local delegation. If they tell us no, you have just hit a brick wall. At least I think we ought to start somewhere. So you can't start with us because we don't have that power. I'll just start with the legislative delegation. If they say they are on our side, let's go to the next level. I think this committee, you're already in place. You need to move on. If it's something you want this council to do it. Thank you, Madam.
Madam Clerk, just very quickly, we've been talking about the council's powers, what we can and cannot do, and what we would need to ask the legislature to do. And what the committee came back with and what we all understand is that the council would have to ask the legislature to allow us to hold a referendum. Correct. They would not be passing anything to give us a tax. They would be allowing us to hold a referendum to increase the tax, lower the tax, the sales tax, increase property taxes, increase fees, whatever. But the legislature would not be passing a tax for us.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, and allowing us is not meaning each one of them tell us yes. It's about an act. They got to act. They can't meet me on the sides. I'm with you, Fred. They got to take some action in the state legislature for us to pass to collect any kind of sales tax. That's the way it is.
Mr. Days?
One.
Further discussion? Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Williams asked me if I was going to make any comments about the tax. Before I had no idea what your comments would be. But let me say this, then. These are my comments. I'm emboldened and encouraged by what I've heard you say today because we all recognize that there's a challenge out there. And I would like to make a little clarification is that we all are, and the citizens are very appreciative of the discipline that has been shown by the council and the administration on spending the money that came from the penny. I mean, there's more gratitude, I think, about seeing infrastructure fixed than probably anything else that's been done in a number of years. But it wasn't really, you don't have to have the penny to do the capital projects. You know, that just happens to be the funding stream for the capital most of the capital projects we've done. So I think that if we can disassociate with doing capital from the penny, and so where else can money come from, as long as we are committed to fixing infrastructure, as long as we're doing that, I think that we can show ways of alternatives that as the leadership in the city, the elected officials in the city, of options that are available for us going forward. I think it would be great if we had a 9-cent sales tax because I think it would put pressure on everybody adjacent to us. But in order to get there, because we know right now that we need to increase the capital expenditures because of what we're getting ready to find out with the CBRE report. Without looking at every line item in the budget, my gut tells me there's a way to do it, okay? But we've got to be willing to give a little here, give a little there, work together. And so again, I thank you for your comments. I appreciate what you're doing, and I I felt like I was maybe being called out a little bit, that the mayor needs to lead this, and us work together on it. So I'm good for it, and I look forward to us continuing this conversation, because it is a challenge. But we have shown the public that we will spend the money that's been allocated for certain specific things, probably like that hasn't been done in the recent past. So let's go get them.
There's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Item passes. CIP resolutions held over. 13061. Authorized change order renewal number 3 for contract with Harwell and Company for 2018 sidewalk repair.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Davis?
Second.
We haven't called never mind, I was going to think it was an exception to the rule, but it's not. Never mind. Thank you.
These are held over.
I think it was Mr. Williams' motion and my second.
That's right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
21062, authorized contract with J. Hunt Enterprises General Contractors for Heroes Theodore Park Site drainage and field conditions.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 21063, authorized contract with Microware Inc., doing business MDS Construction for Henry Aaron Park field condition improvements, Crawford Murphy Park field condition improvements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolutions held over. 09064, reallocate monies from capital project citywide storm drain and pipes in the capital improvement fund to construct sidewalks along Osha Road.
Move to lay over for 1 week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 09065, reallocate monies from capital project District 7 contingency projects in capital improvements to grant fund to construct sidewalks along Osha Road.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Let me have a little discussion.
Oh,
Madam
discussion,
Clerk.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. This is a project in my district, one we were not expecting. The only reason that we received this grant was because another city was not able to make the match in order to move forward. So it was unexpected, but we are able to put together some funds for the match out of my contingencies in my capital improvement program to build these sidewalks. They will be going from Lovretta Park on down to University Boulevard and hooking into the sidewalks that are already there on University. This is a TAP grant, and basically TAP grants like to connect. They want to connect businesses, schools, parks, post offices, churches, you name it, and that's what this would do. It is right next to a park. It goes by churches, it goes by residents, it goes by the post office, it goes by other businesses before it connects with University Boulevard, where there are already sidewalks going on across the street to the University of South Alabama. So it's the perfect use of a TAP grant, and hopefully we will get everything worked out with that miscellaneous drainage and pipe fund so that everybody can see what those funds have been used for over the last 3 years, and then move forward with the rest of it next week.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, and we've moved 31076 to consent. 31076 through 58070.
Motion for the suspension of rules for immediate consideration of resolution 37067 through 58070.
Second.
We moved 31076 there, so we're starting with 31076 through 58070. If there's no objection, I
We
would...
need to vote on that real quickly on the...
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If there's no objection, I'll take all five of those together. All right. 31076, authorize the mayor to apply, accept, and receive funding from the CFSA Angels Arms Animal Welfare Fund grant, no match. 37067, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for Milia's Restaurant on Highway 90 West. 37068, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a nonprofit tax-exempt license for Festival of Flowers 2018. 37069, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a lounge retail liquor Class 1 license for Lit Cigar Lounge on Dolphin Street. And 58070, assess cost for removal of weeds, Group 1569.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time, 21071.
By council rules, this one would lay off for 1 week.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01072 through 31075.
Motion for the suspension of rules for the immediate consideration of 01, 072, 73, and 076. And the rest.
We've already taken 076.
We did six.
No, we did
six.
We've already taken 076.
She moved
I
it.
said not to even move it, so we moved it. Anyway,
What was the reason for that?
072 and
Just-
073.
Yeah, just 2 and 3.
What was the reason for that?
We're going to hold it up till
Hold
March
them up
6th.
for 30 days.
March 6th.
Okay, I understand, sorry. I just
Second.
freaking out. Thank you, go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 01072 and 09073, authorized project agreement with Gulf Hauling and Construction for receiving, processing, and disposal of residential trash. In 09073, reallocate monies from general fund to trash department hauling to pay monthly invoices to waste management per settlement.
Move to lay over till March 6th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Announcements. The meeting next week on February 13th will be moved to Wednesday, February 14th at our same time, our regular scheduled time. And we'll start with Ms. Gregory.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On Friday, we will have the annual Hillsdale Mardi Gras at the Hillsdale Recreation Center. Begins at 2 o'clock, runs until 2. Plenty of floats and bands and people riding around with throws and some hot dogs and hamburgers for lunch. So everyone is invited. Come on out. Get in a little bit more Mardi Gras, like you won't have enough by then. 10 until 2 at the Hillsdale Recreation Center. I plan to be there, as always. It's a great parade. Bertie Anderson and her staff do a terrific job. Coming up on February 27th, I will have a district meeting at the Vision Center, which is located at Forest Hill Drive on the corner there with Princeton Woods Drive. 6 o'clock, a number of guest speakers will be there. Postcards should be hitting the mail fairly soon. We will be focusing on the widening of Ziegler, on Project Shield, and our capital improvement program. So everyone is invited to come. Again, it will be February 27th, 6 o'clock. And we look forward to seeing everybody then.
Ms. Rich?
Thank you very much. Many of you have been paying attention to my request of the city to have a date for a meeting to discuss the Hillcrest Traffic Management Access Program or Plan. And I had suggested February 22nd, but that came out as tentative and it needs to be taken off anybody's calendar. I'll get this in my newsletter. A date has not been set, but a meeting will be conducted. This will be a meeting of, similar to how ALDOT does their meetings when they make road improvements, where you get to see the plans on easels, you get to have your questions answered by the technicians and people involved in the planning and the drawings, and you also get to leave a comment if you wish, and you have some time to also get that comment into the system. Again, the date has not been set, but my senses tell me it will be sometime in March, and I'll look forward to having that on behalf of the residents to pull that meeting together. I'd also like to wish everybody a very happy Mardi Gras. The next time you meet, it will be history and in the books, but as the mayor already said, the personnel that touches your lives in order for you to have a safe and clean Mardi Gras, I thank them from the bottom of my heart. They're working overtime. They're working very hard to make it a successful season. So I would like to give them all the credit where credit is due and to remind citizens to stay safe and to listen to the requests of Mobile Police, because you'll have a much better outcome if you'll follow the rules. And again, happy Mardi Gras to all.
Mr. Daves?
Thank you. The next District 5 community meeting will be on Tuesday, March 27th at 6 p.m. at Westminster Presbyterian Church, which is on the southeast corner of Sage Avenue and Airport Boulevard. I look forward to having big attendance March 27th, 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have sidewalks coming, sidewalk repairs coming to Midtown, and we have ball field condition. They're going to improve the condition of the ball fields for Henry Avram Park and for Trinity Gardens Park. That will be the largest neighborhood parade in the history of the city of Mobile since 1702. That's going to be the Trinity Gardens Parade. It's going to take place Saturday the 17th, and ask the citizens to come out and be a witness to history. Last year we had 53,000. No one was arrested, no tickets issued, no one jumped a rail, no cars towed. They didn't charge you anything to eat. It was just all a celebration. So I'm looking forward to that one. I will be holding my Crichton Community Meeting at Dumas Wesley Center on the 22nd. So I'm asking the people in Crichton to get ready for us. Next month we'll be coming your way. We're trying to get Mardi Gras and all of that out of the way, and we're going to get started with our community meetings. Crichton is going to be first, and then I think we're going up Moffett Road. And from there, we're going across District 1. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Small.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next Wednesday, I will be announcing two major events coming up in District 3. Number one will be our spring district-wide meeting. We'll be giving the dates on next week and also the time and the place. If any citizens of District 3 have any particular topic you want to discuss, please contact my office at 208-7441 or cj.small@cityofmobile.org. Also on next Wednesday, I will be announcing the date and the time of our 6th annual Easter celebration, Easter egg hunt. We'll be announcing that on next Wednesday, encouraging all the citizens and especially ones in District 3 and really throughout the city of Mobile to have a great and safe Mardi Gras. Laissez le bon temps rouler, let the good time roll.
All right now.
Mr. Williams.
I'll make my annual plea for baseball coaches. When I started coaching baseball, I never played on a championship team. I'd probably played about 5 games at the high school level. That was it, 5 games. I mean, I just got in the game. I wasn't even a star, not close. But with a bunch of good kids and cooperative parents, we had about 11 or 12 great years of coaching baseball. My kids are grown up now. I'm focusing on other things, but I ask people to consider giving some time for the young kids, whether or not be in T-ball at one of the churches or with one of our programs. And I'd be glad to help anyone to get started with that endeavor. We are indeed born to celebrate. It has been a great Mardi Gras so far. I have no doubt that it will continue to be. And I ask, lastly, that if you see a lady or a gentleman in a Navy uniform, you can almost guarantee you they are not from Mobile, Alabama. At least they're not stationed here. And they will be happy to take a picture with you. So walk up to them, greet them, welcome to our city, and celebrate with them. Thank you.
That concludes the announcements. At this time, we adjourn. If there's
Move to adjourn.
Already did. Yep,
she did.
She said that already.
She did, okay.
She made the first announcement.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye. So moved. Adjourn.
Well done. It's like, why do I need a motion to adjourn? Just adjourn it. We're done.